Hello, my name is Dr. Luke K. Barr, and I'm the founder of Plasticity Neurorehabilitation and the creator of our innovative bimanual hand exerciser, Polyform 1H. In this short series of videos, we're going to go over the different aspects of Polyform 1H and go through some exercises to work with it. Polyform 1H is a new kind of hand exerciser, and as you may notice right away, it's very different from others that you may be familiar with. We're going to talk about each aspect about it, and we're going to start with its overall shape and size. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are three major segments to its design. There's this large bulky area, which we call the knob, and then there's this slimmer area that's flat and rectangular that we call the paddle. And if you look carefully, you'll see that the paddle has a little angle in it across here, and we call that the elbow or the bend. Polyform 1H is designed from the ground up to incorporate principles of neurorehabilitation and neuroplasticity. And it's this new paradigm that makes it unique and quite distinct from old-fashioned legacy devices like putties or squeezers. We'll review some exercises that'll give you a lot of options to work with it, whether that's to achieve your peak performance or to help you recover for an injury. Polyform 1H is designed to scientifically fit 95% of adult humans. The knob component is designed to fit 95% of adult human hands to keep it slightly open, because a slightly opened hand is more useful than a closed hand. The length of Polyform 1H is also adjusted so that for the majority of people, it places the hands slightly closer together than shoulder width apart. If you think about many of the activities that we do on a day-to-day basis and a lot of the tools that we engage with, many of them are designed to fit into this same type of workspace that our body naturally wants to form. Another very important aspect of Polyform 1H, and something that separates it from a lot of the old style tools that you may have been familiar with, is that it's hard. Most of the objects that we encounter in life are hard, rigid, and non-compressible. This is completely different compared to the squishy or springy tools that we often use to achieve recovery or improvement. It's important for our practice to mimic our real life, and Polyform 1H allows us to do that. Another important aspect of Polyform 1H is what we call the safety gap. You can see that this groove goes all the way around Polyform 1H, and that's specifically designed to eliminate pinching. You'll also notice that Polyform 1H is covered with a textured surface of micro discs. Those were chosen because during prototyping and testing, we noticed that people preferred a textured surface as opposed to a smooth surface, and in addition, it provides some tactile stimulation to keep our brains engaged. Now let's review some exercises with Polyform 1H. We'll start with our most basic exercise. We call this just our standard exercise number 1. You start by holding the knob segment in the working hand and the paddle segment in your supporting hand. I personally like to grab the paddle just after the elbow, but everybody's different, and your doctor or therapist can help you find what's right for you. But what's important is to be comfortable with the position. Then all we have to do is squeeze with our working hand on the knobby portion for a few seconds, open our hand, and then turn it. And then squeeze, open, and turn. Squeeze, open, and turn. And by repeating this process, we're activating both the right and left sides of our brain and forcing our brain to coordinate that action. It's important to pay attention and stay focused on each individual aspect of this compound action. We want to be mindful of every action that we take when we're working with Polyform 1H. Commonly, exercise 1 is recommended to be done for 5 minutes, 4 times per day. Some people like to do it a little bit longer. Some people like to do it a little bit shorter. And you can work with your physician or therapist to help find out what's right for you. With exercise 1, there are a few different progressions that we can work through, and we'll demonstrate them now. The first progression, what's sometimes called level 0, is what we call a supported task, and those are for people who have significant weakness and can't physically lift the device up. In those instances, we place Polyform 1H onto a flat surface and then place both hands in similar positions as previously described, and we work with the device by trying to feel the different knobs, trying to squeeze, or doing what we're able to do. And then, either aided or unaided, we roll the device and repeat the process. The next progression is level 1. In this particular position, we've got the hand supported, the working hand supported on a flat surface, and polyform 1H is standing upright in the palm of the hand. We then try to squeeze or feel, whatever we can do, and then turn it. Squeeze, feel, and turn. And that's a level 1 progression. We've already demonstrated the level 2 progression, which is holding polyform 1H in our standard position. And we also have a third level progression, which we call a gravity resisted hold, because gravity is pulling down and putting some additional resistance on polyform 1H. And in this case, the palm is facing down, and we squeeze, open, and turn. Squeeze, open, and turn. Same exercise, different orientations. Exercise number 2, some people refer to it as the twister or the twist. We start by placing polyform 1H in the palm of our hand. We orient it vertically, and we want the elbow and the end of the paddle pointing towards us. We then place our supporting hand on top of the paddle, squeeze with both hands, and then rotate it and squeeze again. Then rotate it and squeeze again. And rotate and squeeze again. And this causes a lot of activation through a full range of motion of our arms and shoulders, as well as slightly more complicated dual grasping exercise. The twister exercise can be modified a little bit by turning polyform 1H around so that the paddle is facing the other way, and this gives a slightly different feel to the exercise. Another way that we can slightly change the exercise to give it a slightly different feeling is by, instead of rotating with our supporting hand, we rotate with our working hand, which also is another variation that we can do. A third exercise that we can do with polyform 1H is what some people call around the world or workaround, and that also starts in our standard position. And you squeeze, open your hand, and then instead of immediately twisting, you change your grip to a reverse grip and squeeze again, and then change your grip to a forward grip and squeeze a third time. At that point, you relax your grip and turn polyform 1H with your supporting hand. Then you squeeze in a forward grip, squeeze in a standard grip, and squeeze in a reverse grip, and turn it again with your supporting hand and work around the other way. Our fourth bimanual exercise with polyform 1H is something that a lot of people call dice or drawing dice or telephone or dialing. And in that particular exercise, the way we're going to work with polyform 1H is by aligning it front and back so that it's parallel with the floor and the paddle is pointing towards us. Our working hand grabs the knob at the top, and our supporting hand is only grasping the paddle. We then begin to tap out the face of a die. For instance, 1 gets 1 press with our thumb, and then for 2, we use our working hand to move the entire object to create that pattern and press twice. And then we can do 3 times or 5 times. Each time we're manipulating with our working hand, and the only thing we're doing with our supporting hand is pressing our thumb. The feeling of this particular exercise can also be changed by flipping polyform 1H over so that the elbow is pointing up, and some people find that this makes it a little bit easier for them because the angle of the paddle then captures the hand a little bit more tightly and takes some of the strain of holding it by itself. There are also a number of single-handed exercises that we can use polyform 1H to work with, and we'll demonstrate some of those next. One exercise, some people refer to as the pointer, other people call it the claw, but basically you take polyform 1H and grab it with either hand, your working hand, by the knob, and you basically point the paddle in various different directions. You can do it with either hand, and you can do any of these exercises with either hand is the working hand or the supporting hand. Another single-handed exercise is what we call the knob crawl, and we hold the knob and then manipulate it so that our hand is working all the way around. And that's also a great exercise to strengthen the hand and improve your dexterity. Another single-handed exercise that we can look at is frequently referred to as the paddle crawl, which is very similar, except we work around the paddle back and forth. This primarily strengthens the tips of the fingers, but also works a lot of the intrinsic hand muscles as well. Another single-handed exercise that people like to work with has become known as the cereal box, and all you do in that particular exercise is grab polyform 1H along the paddle and move it back and forth, squeezing intermittently as if you were taking off a box of cereal or a large book or any other rectangular shaped object. Another variation is grasping it along the thin side, which works more of our thumb, and people refer to this one as book or the magazine because it's about the thickness of a book or magazine. Another single-handed exercise can mimic pouring, and a lot of people call this the pour, and you're just imagining that you're pouring something out of a pitcher or a carton and doing it over and over and over again to get that coordination and that rotational strength back. A slight variation of the pouring exercise that we just demonstrated is what many people refer to as the metronome, which is going back and forth with a stop in the middle. Again, any of these exercises can be done with either hand. You can change how many of these feel by, instead of holding the paddle, holding the knob and doing those exercises in that way. As you become more advanced with working with polyform 1H, you may want to add additional challenges, and those can be cognitive challenges. And something that many people are doing is applying a piece of tape or a sticker to the various facets of the knob, sometimes even of the paddle, to help engage other aspects of our concentration, other aspects of our brain. Some people put different faces, some people put numbers, different colors, different shapes, even different equations or words, and the goal then is to say, turn it so that you're grasping primarily on whatever has been indicated. And that may include switches, lots of different variations. The possibilities are endless. The key is to remember to have fun, stay safe, and remember, the future is functional. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.